shooters, loaders, and casters. Welcome to the Georgia Shooting Connection Friday Night Live stream. Hope y'all had a great week. How was your week, CW?
Oh, it's getting better by the minute. Going to get better really good here in a second because we're all here. Good to see everybody. Thanks for stopping in. I see a new face out there in the side chat. Disastrous Effect. Good to see you, man. Thanks for stopping by. Had a really, really good week. We had some pretty good weather. I had to get some yard work done. I got a lot of bench stuff done on the reloading bench. I was going to get to the range, but they were threatening bad weather today, so we figured we'd go to a couple of gun shops instead of the gun range. And it was a beautiful day. It was 75 degrees, no wind, but it was a nice day for a ride in the car. So that's what we ended up doing. Got some pretty good stuff. I launched a video just before we went live here this evening. Got some pretty good stuff and had a good time. Mike, how was your week been? Got to turn your speaker on, though.
Yeah, I turned my microphone on instead. Yeah, it's been a pretty good week. Doggone it, we're still getting some of those rain and thunderstorms. I mean, matter of fact, it's probably fixing to maybe hit us again in a little bit, so hopefully I don't lose internet. But, yeah, other than that, it's been a great week, though. I mean, you know, every day you wake up and you're not in an obituary, then, you know, that's a good day. So, yeah. How about you, Chad? What you been up to, buddy? Have a good week?
Man, Rebel was talking about quitting dipping earlier. I had one of those weeks that almost made me want to start dipping, smoking, and chewing again. So
at the same time, huh?
That's not good.
I'm on a small job that consists of 5 power poles, and all 5 of them is in a field that's suited for a pig pen. So I've been wading around in mud up to my knees all week. I've had to move everything with the dozer. The holes that I've drilled caved in. I'm having to re-drill them and stick culverts in the ground the full depth of the hole. Now we got to get a pump truck and pump concrete to pose in. Yeah, what should have been a week's worth of work is going to end up taking about 2 months.
Oh my goodness!
So one of them weeks, but I'm home and got to the range twice today, and going to get out and turkey hunt tomorrow and give it one last try. And looking forward to tonight's show. And as always, on Friday nights now, I'll be jumping off a little bit early. So, what about you, Rebel?
Well, I started off the week kind of bad. I found out one of my good friends and good customers, one of my best customers, passed away suddenly. He's exactly 2 months younger than me. He's a great taxidermist, great businessman. Him and his daughter were partners in the taxidermy shop, and he was always hustling. Lord, he was a barber. He had a taxidermy shop. They processed deer, and he created a little mini empire over there, not too far from me. And he had open heart surgery and died on the table. So I'm sure going to miss him, but I know he's with the Lord. So he was a good man. He was a godly man. And other than that, I'm kind of shy, so I'm not going to say any more. Ain't that right, Hillbilly?
Yes.
Sorry to hear that, Mike. It's a rough thing, you know. I went through that myself, and it's kind of scary. It
is.
It's not your time. It's your time. But,
that's right. I mean, and if you die on the table at a primo hospital, there's really nothing they could have done. I mean, he must have had some kind of pre-existing condition, and of course, I've gave the family their privacy, and but he was such a good guy. I'd love to have pictures of his work. He did a river otter that he caught out of his fish pond. He was mad as crap at that thing because it was eating all its fish that he paid for. and that thing was tail and all was almost 6 foot long, and he taxidermied that thing that looked like it was fishing in the river. It was piece of art. I mean, piece of art. How about you, Tex?
Oh, it's a pretty good week. We had a good week at work. Nothing major happened, so been a little rainy here, but we got some reloading done, some work in the reloading room done. Deprimed about 2,000 cases, cleaned a bunch of them, stuff like that. Made some parts to go in the reloading room, so it was a pretty good week. How about you, Dave?
Well, started out this morning fantastic. Drove out to Hansville, had breakfast with a guy at a Point No Point, guy that went and took over for me in my job and stuff, and just had a fantastic morning. Had breakfast. We talked for like 2 hours there, at the breakfast table, and when we left the restaurant, we headed over to his place and spent some time there, and he was showing me some of the things he's doing with his farm. And he's got 15 acres and really, really a guy who really has it on the ball. I mean, this guy is really on the ball. Very, very smart man. And, beautiful house. He built it himself, subcontracted all the stuff that he didn't want to get involved with, but it's a $2-3 million spread. I mean, it's nice. It's really nice. He ended up investing something like $700,000 out of his pocket, to get it going, and he's got it going. So I'll tell you one thing, man, really, really smart dude. But anyway, other than that, I had a project that I've been working on for the last couple of days with my sliding glass door, which I let Jamie know earlier. I am so happy. That thing, you can open it now with one finger and close it with one finger. It's great. I mean, it was like, wow.
New hardware,
so
Dave?
Pretty happy about that. Huh?
New hardware?
Oh, yeah, and you know what? I had to borrow from Peter to pay Paul. Actually, I had to go down to Home Depot, and I looked at the different casters and stuff they had. They didn't have my particular style, but I, being a little bit on the ball here, I said, they can't be that much different on the inside. So I picked out one that was very similar to mine, and I bought that one. I took it home. I figured I could just return it, if it didn't work. But I took the insides out of it, and they're exactly the same as the casters that I've got. So I went back to Home Depot and bought another one, and I replaced both of them. I put a new track in. I went ahead and tore the old track out. The whole bit. That door is like brand new now. It doesn't make any noise at all. You open it up and shut it. And I put up with 15 years of grinding and pushing it along with my foot a little bit to get over the hump. And, man, I'm telling you, what a relief, man. That felt so good. Yeah. But anyway, that's about all I had on. I got some projects that I'm working on right now. I got some chainsaw stuff I need to do. That's about it. Yeah.
Thanks all you guys for being here this evening. I appreciate y'all. It'd be kind of lonely for me sitting up here talking to these good folks all by myself, wouldn't it?
I don't think Kyle had a turn. Did Kyle have a turn? Mr. Lusk?
Not yet.
Oh, go Kyle. How was your week?
Well,
Mine was busy.
Lose, man.
Mine was busy. We are having a huge sale at the store, and my department is full bore, wide open. And tomorrow I get to work with some store manager that's training. He has to be familiar.
Yay.
Yes, he has to be familiar with all the departments. So they decided to put him with me on the last day of this huge sale. Okay, great. So that's going to be fun tomorrow. I'm exhausted. 4 o'clock came early this morning. And it's going to come even earlier tomorrow because I know what tomorrow's going to hold. Other than that, no, everything's good. Just relaxing on a Friday evening. We're good friends. That's it.
Lock him in the bathroom,
Well,
Kyle.
you know, one thing, Kyle, I'm just glad that you're being blessed and you got work going on. You know, you got some income coming in, you know.
Well, I enjoy it.
There you go.
I enjoy the
You know,
job. It's fun.
That's all you can
I
ask
like it.
for is be provided. So that's awesome.
Yes, sir.
I'm not a fan of sushi myself, but
I love it and I enjoy making it. And I really like it when people walk up and go, "Can you make this for me?" Sure. Can you give me 10 minutes? Let me get done with what I'm doing and I'll be more than happy to. Sure, no problem. Then they come back 20 minutes later. Man, that was fantastic. Thank you. I know it seems like a weird job transition, but I'm digging it, man. I'm liking it.
You got to do something different after a while.
Amen to that.
Who thought I'd be, after working on copiers
Yeah.
for 35 years, I'd start working on Chromebooks. But anyway, tonight our topic is the Whitney Kennedy rifle. Y'all want to see a picture of it?
Yes.
Do I
Yes.
have one?
I didn't do my homework, so I need to see a picture of it.
I bet it's got a barrel on it.
And a trigger.
look at a trigger.
You see this headline, picking up where the Burgess left off, a Whitney Kennedy rifle. Notice the serpentine lever. And if y'all remember, well, it's got some stuff down here. Whitney Kennedy was a lever action rifle produced from 1879 to 1886 by the Whitneyville Armory, run by Eli Whitney Jr., son of cotton gin inventor.
Yep.
Around 23,500 were made. It was designed by Andrew Burgess and manufactured by Whitneyville, with improvements to the feeding system by Kennedy. The Whitney Kennedy's most distinctive feature was its curved serpentine lever, replaced by a traditional lever in 1883. It was a contemporary competitor to Winchester lever actions produced in calibers like .44-40. As a top-eject rifle with a tube magazine, the Whitney Kennedy operated similar to a Winchester, but used a different locking system to avoid patent infringement. And I think it's a superior design myself. Though the Whitney Kennedy was commercially successful, Winchester purchased and shut down Whitneyville in 1888 to eliminate the competition. The innovative Whitney Kennedy ultimately survived for less than a decade, but its unique lever and role as a Winchester rival made it a fascinating collector's piece today. And these things hit the auction block from time to time, but I just love the looks of that rifle. I like the crescent butt plate. I like that serpentine lever. I like the octagon barrel. So that's what one looks like.
What were they chambered in, Jamie?
Predominantly
4440.
440. But other cartridges as well.
Yeah, I think they said they had like a 4570 and other stuff. But I did look up the price of them, and they're not cheap to buy today by any means.
Lord no.
Hell, the screw that holds the lever on there is probably $400.
So let's go back to back in 1794, Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin or the cotton engine and patented it. And he goes nearly bankrupt and deep in debt trying to enforce the patent on that cotton gin because it was simple. It did a lot of work, manual labor, really quickly, and a lot of people copied it. And it was easy to make too. So he had a problem there. And Whitney had set up an industrial factory, and in 1801 he won a contract from the government to produce muskets. Then he had to go about figuring out how to make these muskets, and he came up with what Ian would call the interchangeable parts system. It's kind of what we would think of as an assembly line. So by 1879, when these rifles were starting to be produced, the Whitneyville Armory had been in business somewhere between 80 and 100 years, making firearms. And last week we talked about the Burgess rifle or the Burgess, and we also talked about their problems. And they only made about 2,000 of those Burgess rifles, and of those in 1878 and 1879, and then they made 2,000 of them in 78 and 79, and then immediately started production of the Kennedys. And the Whitney Kennedy is the same basic design of the Burgess, and Burgess's name should still be on those rifles. As a matter of fact, they were still paying him royalties for that design from the Kennedys. But Kennedy improved the lifter or the elevator that carried the cartridge from the magazine tube up to the chamber. And Burgess was still getting paid royalties. And these Kennedys were a lot more successful. They made about 23,500 of them in a variety of chamberings. But the most popular was the 4440. And this was between 1879 and 1886. And they marked them 44 CAL period or 44 SF, CF for centerfire. The thing was, the cartridge was designed by Winchester, and they called it the 44 WCF, Winchester centerfire. But these guys that were they were in competition with Winchester. They didn't want to put Winchester's name on their rifle, even if it was just to designate the cartridge. So they come up with these different names for it. And it was probably Marlin that first designated the cartridge as a 4440, meaning 44 caliber with 40 grains of black powder. So in 1883, as we read earlier, a more traditional finger loop design replaced the serpentine lever. And at this point, we'll show the video. Y'all want to see the video?
Well, Lord, yeah.
Just a clip of it?
Yep.
All right, let's start by just noting the markings here. The front half is worn away. This would have said Whitneyville Armory, CT, Connecticut, USA, and then Kennedy. So the Whitney Kennedy rifles are simply marked Kennedy like that. And back here we have our caliber marking, 44 cal. Now these are a top eject rifle, and they have a loading gate here on the side. The loading gate is locked. So these rifles have a longer lever throw than a comparable Winchester, but it is kind of a smoother action. So there is the full travel of the lever, all the way open, and as is typical of the rifle, it opens here, it recocks the hammer automatically. And then this is basically a large L-shaped block. And up here, inside the action, unfortunately, the side plate, there isn't a removable side plate on this gun, so it's a little difficult to show the interaction of the parts. But up here, the lever, this L-shaped block, is pinned to the bolt. So what happens is when the lever is closed, like this element we actually can see. So as the lever comes up, it pushes the bolt all the way forward, which is loading a cartridge, chambering it fully, and then the lever locks in place right here against that central bar. The firing pin is now exposed. If the lever is down, the firing pin is hidden behind that bar. That prevents the rifle from being fired out of battery. Right there, now when you pull the trigger, hammer falls, hits the firing pin, rifle fires, and then the cycle starts all over again. All right, I do have a couple other things I want to show you on these, but I figure we'll do the rest of this on this saddle ring carbine, just because it's interesting and different. Totally different patina on the two receivers, by the way, which is interesting. All right, so the action here is identical. This carbine is also in 4440, aka 44 Winchester centerfire. Works the same way. However, one of the things that we can take a look at are the serial numbers, which are a bit unusual on the Whitney Kennedys. You're going to find the serial number in two places, right here on the lever and right here on the bottom of the tang. So right here on the tang, we have our serial number. Now, the initial production run of these were numbered all the way up to approximately 4,500. And after that, they started using alphabetical prefixes. So they would then run A001 through A999 and then move to B and then to C. This is, there's some wear here, but I believe this is C645. And then on the lever, if we look right there, you will find just the number portion, so just 645. Something else to point out here is that the loading gate is locked. The elevator is in its way when the lever is closed, so it can only be reloaded when the lever is open. Then the loading gate opens up, and you have a tube magazine down there that you can fill up with cartridges. Now, looking inside the action, you can see very clearly the elevator right there. That lifts a cartridge up from the magazine tube, puts it in position so when the bolt closes, the bolt pushes it into the chamber and it's ready to fire. The Winchester rifles had a toggle lock in with two pieces like this that would pivot down, and the lever acted as a locking piece that held these two components in line. And then when you pulled the lever down, you'd break the toggle and pull things back like that. The Whitney Kennedy is different in that it is a two-piece bolt locking against a solid bar in the receiver. Thanks for watching, guys. Ultimately, this rifle...
Pretty neat.
Yeah, I really like how the firing pin is on the back of the lever, and it locks everything up, and it keeps it from firing out of battery like that. But I think it's a really cool design that the actual, well, the part, it's a two-piece firing pin, obviously, or maybe it's not, but the firing pin being on the back of the lever is really interesting to me. And you can definitely see the beginnings of the Marlin designs, particularly that 336 design, where the lever is actually going up into the bolt and moving it forward and back as you're opening and closing it. Comments?
It also's got those kind of sexy lines of a Spencer, even though it's a totally different action. You know, it's just neat looking. It's a neat looking rifle.
It really is.
It's different on the loading gate.
It is a nice rifle.
73. On the 73, you got to have the lever closed before you can load it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's amazing how all
but
the
you-
manufacturers come up with little bitty differences to set their designs apart. And some were better, some were worse, some were the same, just different. it's weird that this was a very weird time for gun manufacturers. Everybody had something new, but then reverted back to something old or something like that.
Yep.
CW. CW. I might be behind the kitchen line here and can't really see the angle, so I might need a little help here because all I really have is a theory. In the 1800s, in the late 1800s, the 4440 was predominantly, a dual-purpose cartridge, for rifles and pistols, and there was an awful lot of people that had them. In fact, in the early bullseye, stages of, playing the game, there was a lot of guys, they shot matches with 4440s. And when the 44 Special came out, it had a hard time getting off the ground because the people that did fire, had, firearms chambered in the 4440 said, with the advent of modern powder, we're starting to get into the 1920s. Things are rolling along. You got solid headed brass now that, we can get into the performance where the 44 Special really doesn't have much to offer us because we already got guns chambered, in 4440 because it was really widely used. Now, that's just me, thinking, and I want to know if you have anything you want to add on that, where I might be wrong.
I don't see that the Special was really competing against the 4440. The 4440 was very well established. It came at a time.
Yes, it was.
With black powder, of course, and then much more powerful than the muzzle loaders. Faster loading, load it once and shoot it all week, and it just the 44 Special just didn't. It wasn't. I don't think it really competed with 4440. It was just another option for a less powerful handgun, pretty much handgun only cartridge. But it came in a special firearm at first too, didn't it? What was it chambered in first? It was around the time of the 44 Russian. I'm trying to think. I can't remember the firearm.
I think it was 44 Russian when the 44 Special came out. The 44 Russian kind of fell away. But again, they were trying to push that 44 Special, and there are a lot of people that had the 4440s were like, why would I be interested in that? I already have a firearm that will pretty much meet the needs.
Well, that same stuff is going on today.
Yep.
Oh, sure. Yep, absolutely. Our warm friends at marketing.
Right. And, it kind of works in reverse if they're not careful. Because the more I shoot 6.5 Creedmoor, the more I'm interested in 6.5 by 55 Swiss. You know what I mean? The more I want a Swiss rifle to shoot that cartridge.
Well, you know what I say, Jamie? Anything a Creed could do, a Sweet could do better.
You just made that up. That's the first time that's ever come out of your mouth. Anyway, it's time for us to say hi to all the guys in the side chat. What should we type in today?
4440.
4440, and we'll call your name out on TV.
I'm here, but my phone's plugged in the kitchen. So 4440.
Okay, so
Kyle's in the side chat.
Kyle's on the panel and in the side chat. So is CW Longshot. So is Texas 6. So is Mike Hester. Walks Fletcher is out there. Put that up there. Y'all read that while I'm calling these out. Edward Petty is out there. Dwayne 7834, Guns and Water, Service Venator, Tactical Fudge, Ron 2A Matters, Andre D'Angelo, Service Venator Christian Grest was able to spend some time Sunday night on Scotsman Chat. That was fun to hang out with him. Good to see you, Christian. Hillbilly Up is also on the panel, and the side chat. Walt Fletcher is a Winchester fan. He says 44 WCF. Bobby Barlow's out there. Alaska One Andy. Oh, one guy. Gizzard Gary. Hey, Gizzard. Mr. Bob's out there. Tim S. Kerry Crouch. Good to see you, buddy. Timothy Burkett. Red Raider Reloading. Mr. Bob is playing auctioneer over in the side chat. Papa's Place. And I think we're up to date at the moment.
I'm sorry, I'm debating on if I have to play pool water detail because it just started to rain. I'm going to see how long it's raining, but I'm under a tin roof right now, so I'm going to drown everybody out if I don't mute.
That's fine. It is starting to pick up. The rain's starting to pick up in intensity here. So if all of a sudden we're not here, it's because we got storms in the southeast. I think we got them over toward. You got any storms, Chad?
I'm just getting ready to tell you I need to jump off. My neighbor just texted me a tree limb fell across their driveway, and he's asking me to come and help. So,
Dude.
Put your cape on. Be safe.
Yeah. Go get them, brother.
Get them, big man.
see you guys.
We'll see you later, Chad.
Come back if you can.
So on my way home today, y'all, I saw probably a 300-year-old oak tree fell over one of the houses in the Celanese village. It was huge. That thing was probably 3.5 feet across the bottom, and it just uprooted and fell on this house. So that happened last night. So that's never a good thing.
Well, we have had a good bit of rain. It's kind of softened everything up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we lost some trees in that, was it Hurricane Katrina or whatever, all the way up here in Missouri, is because the ground is just so saturated the roots couldn't hang on, and it's rocky up here. But yeah, it's sad to hear about that, a tree like that.
Well, the one thing we got in our good graces is Georgia red clay. I mean, that stuff acts like concrete. It's hard to get water into it, but once you do, it turns it back into wet concrete.
It does. It does. And what's so bad about that hillbilly was it fell on this house, and they had that yellow crime tape up around it. It makes me think, Lord, please tell me nobody got hurt or worse.
Oh, man.
A few years back, we had got a little AME Zion church up the road, and a tree about that big, Jamie, maybe bigger, fell on their sanctuary. They had to tear the sanctuary off, and that church ain't met there since. I guess they're trying to scramble up the money to build a new sanctuary, but Microsoft bought the 100 or so acres around them, and they've improved some of their land. But you think Microsoft, maybe old Bill Gates, would give us some money to build a new sanctuary?
No, he wouldn't do that.
No, he ain't doing that.
I would if I could.
Yeah, I ain't Bill Gates.
Yeah. So I think these old guns are interesting to me, and I hope I'm not boring everybody with this lever action series, but
Absolutely not.
I think it's cool to see how we got to where we are. And then, I don't think it was until after World War I that bolt actions really became prominent in America anyway.
Yeah.
But we'll get into all that too. I think our next one will be on the Marlin. I think they started in the midst of the production. As a matter of fact, I think they started in 1881. So they would have been a period of time there where Marlin, the Whitney Kennedy, and Winchester all were making rifles competing with each other.
And
Well,
if I might, go ahead, Tex.
I got a deal about that, how that bolt system locks up and doesn't expose the firing pin till it's all the way locked in. We had an incident this weekend with an 1873 that went off out of battery. And you see the progress, as you're saying, these rifles you're showing of how that got better and better. But yeah, we had a bad situation this past Saturday.
Nobody
Luckily,
got hurt, I hope.
There was some bloodshed, but nobody went to the hospital because
Dang.
at 73, that top of that thing is open. When it went off, it went everywhere. It caught him in the forehead and side of his face.
Whew. Well, I had the privilege of selling a Whitney revolver, and it's been a few months, but that thing was 19th century, and it was still in time and still locked up, just as stout as it did when it came out of the factory. There were some well-made firearms, man.
Come to think of it, I got a buddy that's got a Whitney 36 caliber cap and ball.
Mm-hmm.
It's a basket case. It's in pieces. And of course, he's missing a few. Glenn Davis says 4440, y'all. Glenn Davis is in the side chat. And of course, Christian's still out there. Josh Garza. Hope I said that right, Josh. Says he loves lever guns. Got a lever action musket and 45 long Colt infantry man's lever gun with a sling and bayonet. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, that is cool.
That was kind of the Mannlicher stock of lever actions. You know,
Right.
the wood went all the way up.
And, you know, Winchester offered theirs in a musket.
Well, let's not overlook what caused America to explore bolt actions was the Spanish-American War, which occurred, someone help me date.
Josh says
GGW.
his was made by you, Birdie. GGW's out there. Go Dogs, brother.
Woof, woof. Spanish-American War.
Yeah,
Walt says 1898.
that's what I thought was right after the turn of the century. How'd you like to be riding up San Juan Hill and have them boys shooting Mausers at you?
Right.
No thanks.
And you're carrying what they call those things?
Crag, 30-40 Crag.
Yeah.
Yep.
You want to see a good example about the Mauser? Read about the Boer Wars in South Africa, about
Yes,
how the
sir.
British went down there, cracked the whip at those people, and telling you what, they were in for a surprise. That's what really started the whole thing with, stripper clips and magazine-fed bolt-action rifles and all that other stuff. Is it actually? I believe it started during, the Boer Wars. That's where it really started showing its wares.
That's quite possible, Dave. You're right. Historically, there was a lot of stuff happening right around then. Powers were getting their butts whipped by people they didn't expect to whip their butt.
Yeah.
No, the Boras, they were riding around on their donkeys and, they're just farmers. Yeah. And the British came down there with their regiments and all their fancy stuff and everything. And they just got their butts handed to them.
Repeatedly.
Well, the British got their butts handed to them a lot because of arrogance. It took 8 long years for the Revolutionary War, but we handed them their butts, and during the Zulu Wars, they got their butts handed to them, and Boer Wars as well.
That's a good load for 45 long colt, Josh.
Yes, sir.
Walk said they had Craig Jorgensen cavalry carbines.
Mm-hmm.
And the other side had 1895 Mausers. Probably 7mm, don't you think?
Yeah, 7
They
millimeters.
were. I had one that was rebarreled to 30 cal.
That Mauser is a great design.
Well, Paul Mauser sued the United States and Britain over the Springfield and the 03 Springfield and the Enfield, and won.
Yeah. There's R-Tac. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, Ricky.
So, Christian said he wants a replica of a Brown Bess musket.
Christian, there's a guy here in North Carolina, up in Marion. I forget his name, but he's famous for building black powder replica guns, beautiful guns.
So we need to talk about our meet and greet, don't we?
Yeah, go ahead. June 30th, y'all are coming down?
June 30th and July 1st. I'm probably coming in the 29th, which is Sunday. This is Monday and Tuesday of 4th of July week. We're going to get together and shoot and eat and all that kind of stuff at
Bullseye Sporting Goods. That'll be the main hub anyway.
Yeah, that's where you can find everybody and catch up with us. There you go. June 30th, July 1st, meet and greet at Bullseye Sporting Goods, Vale, North Carolina. I think me and Tread are going to both get a room at the Sleep Inn in Hickory. I think's where we're staying, where I'm going to stay, and where I think Tread will be staying there too. There's New Texarkana. Did y'all hear that?
Mm-hmm. That's a boomer.
Yep. That, Christian said he's going to try to get there. It's 3 hours from him.
12 hours for me.
That ain't nothing for a man of your industriousness. Thanks, I can.
CW, we can get together and talk about head wax.
That was that was his entrance, that clap of thunder. Now that's humble right there. You know, that's humble. So, what do you guys think about doing these talking about these old lever actions like that? Does it intrigue you enough that you would go and at least shoot a 4440 and maybe think about buying one?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, I wanted one when I got my rifle, but right now finding brass for it's almost impossible.
Yeah, it's not just a reloader's caliber; it's a scrounger's caliber.
Yeah.
You know, unless you're on the list at Starline, when they make a run on it, you're not going to find it very easily.
There's Brooke Cheney. Brooke, are you back home? I hope you're back home and safe.
I got a few pieces of it. They get mixed up with my brass when they're picking up brass and giving you back your brass. I keep it. When I get enough of it, I'll put it in a bag and I'll take it back up to the range. And I know a couple of guys that shoot it. And whoever's there, I'll hand it to them.
Good deal. Brooke says she's home and safe. Glad you made it back and everything's okay. Bama Dad is back. Yeah, we got some sure enough storms out here, don't we? I think it's from Hillbilly all the way to me up to Rebel. Certainly Kyle got.
We just keep sending them that way
as quick as it's going in right now.
It's raining here.
Yeah, we just keep sending them that way, man. I don't know why.
Ain't quite hit us yet. The sky's looking mean, but it ain't supposed to hit us till tomorrow.
Okay, let's do this.
We had a front
Brooke
just past us.
Somebody put us a link to RTAC and Daughters in there. He's 6 subscribers away from 3,000. If y'all are not subscribed to RTAC, I hope you'll go over there and subscribe to him. And let's get him over 3,000 tonight if we can. That would be really cool. There's Tactical Fud. Got the link out there. Hillbilly got a link out there for RTAC. CW got one for RTAC. Let me see if I'm subscribed. I know I am because I went the other week and did that. Okay, RTAC, I subscribed from I'm subscribed from all 3 of my YouTube accounts, so I can't do anything else for you, but
I subscribed. Even a ape like me can subscribe.
1.6 thousand videos. Wow.
Holy
I'm
moly.
showing 3,000 subscribers, RTAC.
There you go.
All right, I was about to say, I'm back inside now.
Did you subscribe to RTAC?
Where's the link? How far back? It can't be that far. There it is. There it is. Yay. Done deal.
Good deal.
You are over 3K, sir. I'm sorry. I'm just taking advantage of that free water as long as it's falling.
Yeah, I unsubscribed and subscribed back to help him out.
Yeah, look at that.
Have y'all been getting unsubscribed from your normal subscriptions on YouTube here lately?
Oh, they're doing that big time. I lost one subscriber every day for 8 days in a row. And there's people like I look and I'm like, I ain't seeing their videos pop up in my feed. So I type their channel in, go look, and I'm unsubscribed from them. I have to subscribe again.
Yeah, I've been seeing people I follow on Instagram saying videos up on the YouTube channel, and I'm like, well, I didn't get a notification. And I go look it up. Nope, not subscribed anymore. Been subscribed to him for 10 years.
Ain't that the way it goes?
Mm-hmm. It is coming down over here, Jamie.
Yeah, it looked like they're in Georgia and Alabama. You guys are like I can't tell if it's severe thunderstorm warnings or what. That's what it looked like.
It's lightning and winds blowing, and it's raining like crazy. I thought it was hailing earlier, but that was just big old fat rain.
Big old fat rain.
Well, it's hard to tell on a tin roof, you know.
Yeah, hard rain. That's what I call it.
You got a tin roof over the casting porch. Jamie can tell you it's right off the back of the house there by the pool.
I could hear it.
Roof on it. Man, you can't hear nothing.
RTAC said storm came through there about 20 minutes ago. I think we're kind of on the backside of it. Y'all heard the thunder and stuff. Hopefully it's gone on by now. But yeah, man, congrats to RTAC and Dollars on 3,000 subscribers.
Yep. Hats off, brother. Hats off.
There's my brother MCK. What's going on, Mike? Let's see. CW put up a 3030. What's that about, man?
Somebody asked 219 zipper parent case.
30.
Probably technically 3240, but 3030 is.
I thought we were talking about a parking brake chamber on a big truck. Some of y'all will get that.
Yeah. So, Kyle, I was hoping that, I was assuming that Walter would be here, but you want to show off what you got anyway?
I can do that. Let me turn on some lights.
Then I'll show off something I got. Gene's not here. I need to call and check on him. He didn't make it last week. He had a bad tooth problem. I bet he got it fixed, and he's really hurting.
He hadn't been here for a couple of weeks. He was having to stay late to finish up a job he was doing, and then last week he wasn't here. But yeah, I can show off a little something.
All right.
Let's see if I can get my camera back on here. Hey, everybody. Oh, Lord, I've got the living room scene. Okay, well, as some of y'all know, our good friend Viejo, a.k.a. Walter Bunning, he's been sending out some packages. I've been showing some, interest in a lot of his Wad Cutter Wednesday videos, and lo and behold, I get a package in the mail. He sent me some gorgeous bullets. This one right here is out of an MP mold. This is the 44-395. Oh, Lord, I'm going to have to turn this off on it. There we go.
There you go.
Look at that. That is beautiful.
Mhm.
That is a beautiful bullet. All right, and it also comes. He said, come on, get back. There we go. He sent me two different types. One's a flat base, and one is a hollow base. And the way that he always sends detailed letters, he's given me some load data, which I cannot share on here, and I won't do it. Then these red ones are little button-nosed Lee 429-208s. Got a little button nose on them. And he told me how to load these up. And then he said the ones that look like concrete, and y'all are going to get a kick out of this. These are a Lyman 429-348. It looks just like wet concrete. Gorgeous bullets. They're flat, and they look like they should be loaded the other way, but this is how they go into the case. And it's weird. I've never really played with wad cutters before, and it was very nice for him. I was hoping he'd be here so I could thank him in person, kinda. But it was very nice of him to send me this, and he sent me several of each one, along with a whole lot of data in this note to load them by. And I've actually got the powders he was talking about, so that's going to be interesting. That's what Kyle's got. Your turn, Jamie.
You could call that. That's what VAO had.
That's what VAO had, yeah. I like the way you think.
Kyle,
Where?
Kyle, on those hollow base, MP hollow base, try to keep your velocities around 6 to 650 on that.
Let me see what he's got on here.
They're fantastic, believe me. It's one of my favorite bullets, by the way.
Yeah, he says he's got specific grains of specific powders, and he can push them up to 870, but he recommends loading them a little bit lower for 44 Special instead of 44 Magnum, which I can do.
You want to go around about 650 to 600 feet per second with those wad cutters. They're a match bullet, and they're skirted. And if you push them too hard, you'll blow the skirt, and then your she goes up. Just a little advice. You don't have to.
He's got that. Let's see, it's a Lyman bullet, that 429-348. He says this is fun, and it gives you an easy shooter at about 550 feet per second with this load.
There you go.
And it's a 186 grain bullet. And I did check them, and it does come out to, they average about 186.2, 181.8, or 185.8. Good Lord, it's raining. I can't even see my neighbor's house, and he's got his lights on.
You know, speaking of raining, so it's not raining here, and I live up in Washington. So I'm looking out the window earlier, and there's my next door neighbor. He's standing in the backyard. He takes his oscillating fan, grass waterer, and he sets it up and he turns it on, and it's starting to fan over the top and everything. And he's standing there and he's watching it, making sure he's got it adjusted and everything. He's standing there with his beer. As it's coming over, he starts to back up and get out of the way of the water coming down. Well, he steps on the garden hose and he falls over backwards, smears beer all over himself. And then by that time, the the fan from the sprinkler is just dousing him, and he can't get away from it. And his daughter's up there laughing at him, and
It catches
You
back
talk
up
about
to him, and
getting
of course he runs the wrong way and runs right back into the travel of it, I'm sure.
talk about getting all wet. You know, he's doused himself with his beer and everything. Oh man, yeah.
The joys of home ownership. It's great.
Sometimes the bear eats you.
Yeah.
Well, that's literally what happens at my house. I mean, I walk out late at night to smoke my pipe, and I see all manner of critters in my yard. None of them's doing an oscillating fan sprinkler, though. That could be fun.
Yeah, I felt sorry for him. I was like, it's funny, but I wouldn't want to be him.
But it is still funny.
His daughter, man, was totally. She wasn't going to let up. I think that was getting under his skin.
Nobody ever told me that getting old would be this fun, because I can sit on my front porch and just watch all kinds of crazy stuff happen.
I got a little.
You retired.
I got a little old slat chair I pull out in front of the shop if it's real slow, because my knee hurts, and I'll smoke my pipe. I'll sit there and watch the world go by for a little bit until the customer rolls up, and I'm absolutely freaked out by the price of the vehicles that some of these people drive. You know,
Yeah, it's real.
how many Jeep trucks or big platinum F-150s or F-250s go down the road? I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
you know, good Lord.
Or what's that new one? The Ford Raptor?
That's
an
been out
expensive
for
truck.
a while, but yeah, that's $150,000 truck.
That is an expensive truck.
I got a buddy at work that bought one of them SKUs. Brian, you're gonna have to help me with these, buddy.
Give me a minute. I'll be right back.
My 97 hauls the boat just fine, so I'm good with that.
I got a 2006, so
Square body Chevy forever.
well, I've got a 1976 Ford that it gets the same gas mileage as the thing that pulls a space shuttle. And I built that thing to torque, and but I have to put 93 and 2 bottles of Lucas octane boost in it. So, and you go buy non-ethanol fuel and you find out they're lying about it, and it eats up your fuel pump, and so it's been sitting a few years. I got a really rusty old body taking care of a very high dollar drivetrain. I'd like to find a 63 Galaxy or something to put that, or better yet, but it'd be more work, a 66 Fairlane. I have to weld up the unibody because it'd twist that booger in half.
Yes, sir. They got an old, what is it, that 596?
It's a 396 board 30 over, shaved heads, flat top pistons, crane torquer. Yeah, torquer cam.
Church car.
Yeah.
If you want to move it, yeah.
New process, 435 transmission, granny first, and 2-speed transfer case. I can put that thing in low, put it in first gear, get out, go check the mail, go buy a gun, fill out the form, come back. It's moved 5 feet.
I was about to say, it's still where you parked it.
Yeah. You got to watch it in first gear. You'll break stuff.
Fords most usually are still where you parked them.
Mhm.
I'm joking. I just had to throw that in there.
On a quiet night, you can hear a Chevrolet rust.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
I've had them both, Hillbilly. I
love all vehicles. I'm not.
I miss my old 77 GMC Jimmy with a 400 small block. That was a bad vehicle back. I felt like Lone Wolf McQuaid in that thing.
I've owned all three of the big three. I don't have a favorite. I looked into 2 Fords, and that's what's sitting in the driveway right now.
Now my mentor, who's a mechanic, I've never owned a Dodge because he told me the name told me what to do with it, Dodge it. And I was like, yes, sir. Okay. But there's
I
still
miss my
some
94 Ram. That was a great truck. 2-wheel drive. I put posi in the back, had a 360 in it, made a couple of upgrades to it. That thing could haul the mail, and it'd take you places that you didn't need to be in the woods in a 2-wheel drive truck.
I guarantee it. Well, posi. Yeah.
All classic cars and trucks are awesome. I don't care who makes them.
That's right. You're right.
Okay, let me see.
I had a friend of mine. I had a friend of mine from Alabama, Terry Nicholson. I used to hang out with him when I was a kid, you know. He had a 67 Ford Galaxy 500 with a 390 in it. And, man, I'll tell you what, we had so much fun beating the crap of that old pig, man. You talk about a tough car. Oh, my gosh. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. I remember, we did so many burnouts in that car that we ended up, bald in the rear tires. And some friend of his gave him some snow tires. We pulled the studs out of the snow tires and we put them on that car. Oh my gosh. You talk about spitting rocks. Oh my gosh, man. Holy moly. Boy, we had a lot of fun. That was a tough car, man. Oh my gosh. The stuff we did. That thing could take it. Thing was like driving around in an anvil, man.
Okay.
It was.
Yeah, the storms are still here, y'all. I guess y'all hear it. CW sent me these. Matter of fact, I got 2 boxes full. This might take a minute. But look at these beautiful things.
Mm-mm. Speaking of wet concrete, pretty.
Nice, Captain. Nice.
There's one out the bag. Come on, baby. You can focus, can't you?
What are they?
30-30 bullets,
Was it
170
270
grain.
bullets?
Nope,
Yep.
30-30.
Friend of mine cast some just like that. They are neat bullets.
What I like about them is, of course, CW is famous for his fat knee plats. But see how that's tapered at the top a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Makes them feed good.
Makes them feed good, makes them chamber well. Now,
What mold is
CW,
it?
do what?
What mold is it, Jamie? What mold?
I don't know. CW have to tell you that.
Accurate 311 170.
He cast you any round
Okay.
nose 9mm?
No,
9 millimeter.
but he passed me some of these. Look at this bag.
Oh, nice.
These are 30 caliber too, I believe.
Yeah, they're
You
free
want those?
14s. Those are for the Mosin.
What mold is that?
They're for the Mosin.
Okay. So they're a little fatter.
Yeah.
I think I've got some of these loaded up already. I just ain't made it to the range to shoot them.
I think that's a 311 or 314 299. I think.
Yeah,
that's the same bullet I sent you, Jamie.
yeah, because
the
I
same
had
bullet
I had some of yours and some of his, and I loaded them both.
Yeah,
Like
I think I think I sent you I cast them out of linotype. So they're really hard.
you did.
Mm.
And then he sent me these came last month. They came about 6 weeks ago.
Well,
These are 6.5 millimeter. These are a little heavier, right?
140.
And
Nice.
these I want to show you this one in particular. Well, I got 3 of them out to show you. Look how long and skinny that nose of that bullet is.
That one might be a burger.
That will
Yeah.
cut through the wind right there, buddy.
That looks like a VLD.
Yeah.
You think that's a burger?
Yeah.
There's quite a few of those. And then this one's a little bit shorter, but it's got a little bit bigger of a hollow point in it. It's a little bit shorter of a bullet, but it's more dome shaped. It's more, the point's not as extreme.
That's more of a traditional ogive bullet.
Right. It's more like a Hornady boat tail hollow point or something like that.
Jamie, when you load those VLDs, think backwards. Start with touching the lands and work backwards.
And then there's 2 or 3 little bags of these that, of course, they're different bullets, but these actually have a cantilure on those. So I don't know what those are. We'll probably do some research if we can find out. But I just want to say thank you to CW in front of all of y'all, because y'all why we do this. And,
That's some awesome stuff, CW.
I shoot a pile of them burger bullets.
yeah, I'm thinking about stepping up my game in 6.5 Creedmoor, investing in some Lapua brass and some burger bullets and some.
Well, we live in a great time. We got Lapua, we got Nosler brass, we got Peterson, was it ADG CW? AG something or another. It's supposed to be, it's supposed to be real good brass. And then Norma. But I like Lapua brass. If you want to pony up for it, keep it annealed. You can wear out a rifle with it.
Well, Peterson's supposed to be good.
Peterson's real good. Yep.
Yep.
That's what I loaded on my 7BR.
Oh, I thought I found a windfall for you, Ricky, but turns out it wasn't. It was just boxes.
Damn
that
it.
shop I was in today had 6 boxes of Remington BR brass. That's all it said. Didn't say 308, 7 millimeter, 6 millimeter. Didn't say it. Just said Remington BR brass, but it was just empty boxes.
So
I seen a guy on Facebook. He picked up 7 boxes of loaded ammo, Remington brand.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
That's hen's teeth.
Yeah. He was wondering if it was a good find. Everybody's saying, hell yeah.
what cartridge is it?
7BR. Or, yeah.
Bama Dad wants to know what we think of 300 PRC. I'm not familiar with it.
A friend of mine's playing with the PRCs. I've talked to my gunsmith about the PRCs. When he first started building them, apparently proof barrels had a problem there for a little bit, so he was rebarreling a lot of Christensen rifles, and that hurts. I mean, you pay $1,500 to $2,000 for a rifle, and you find out it won't shoot, and you have to rebarrel it, you know. But he had one box of ammunition. This one PRC was pretty new, and he had built 5 rifles, and he'd shot a half a box to prove that they were accurate to show it. And he built 5 rifles, only used half a box of ammo, factory ammo at that. But another friend of mine has a 6.5 PRC from Masterpiece Arms, and that thing, it's a light Magnum. I mean, like I always say, if they were, there you go, Tommy Boy. Just what Tommy Boy said. If they come out with 30-06 tomorrow, they'd call it a light Magnum or a PRC, you know.
Good to see Tommy Boy out there. So an improved 300 Win Mag, you could say.
Yes, sir.
It's a beltless, long neck 300 Win Mag. So welcome in, Tommy Boy. Always glad to see you, brother.
I got your brass today, Tommy Boy. Thank you.
Has anybody read anything about the 7mm backcountry?
A little bit.
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
All over the place.
80,000 PSI.
Yeah. No,
But
thank
you can shoot out of a regular Remington action because the case holds it.
Yeah. No, thank you.
No, me neither too, CW.
Do you really want a steel case in your chamber at 80,000 pounds per square inch of pressure?
Nope.
I was about to say, let's check the panel. Nope.
Nope.
I
don't care. It's 30-06 size, and it does it with a 20-inch barrel. It doesn't blow my skirt up.
No. But you're staring at the back of that bolt shroud and going, please hold, please hold.
And if it doesn't hold, the only thing you can think of is just stick a thumb in it.
Well, yeah, really. Yeah. Stick a thumb in it.
Did y'all see Kenny's video of him building a receiver?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, looks like he's got him a new machine. He's getting into building receivers.
Oh, Lord.
I think he's been using somebody else's receivers building those 22s he's been building. But it looked like a big, hefty duty receiver.
Well, if Kenny's going to put his name on it, it's going to be hefty.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's like, I think Voodoo sells their receivers. They're copied after 40X. I talked to a dude the other day. It's a gunsmith, and he's got $6,500 in a 22 rifle. He's got a high dollar German scope on top of it, and I'm like, okay, I guess. Well, because he's playing a game, and money. When you start getting into competition, the money follows, and the more money you throw in it, the more competitive you are. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Anything you do for competition is that way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jamie, I thought that was really nice of CW to send you those bullets. And I want to state this. I don't care what everybody's been saying about him. I think CW's a nice guy.
You sent me a nice box of them, too. I got some of them 7mm already gas checked, ready to load.
Well,
I Jamie, if you don't mind, I got a question for CW real quick.
Let me make one comment before we change the subject. If you got a problem with CW, you got a problem with me. So there's that.
Amen. CW, this is opinion. So if you acquired a bunch of custom barrels and from a guy who was knowledgeable as a gunsmith, he has them kind of half chambered already. You know, some people prefer to do that to get their, so the reamer doesn't do all the work. And the barrel was a little, well, way too heavy for the application you wanted to use it. I've heard two opinions about turning down a barrel. One was don't do it because it could open up the bore, blah, blah, blah. And one guy said, well, if you ain't got a lot in it, go slow and you probably be all right. What do you think?
Guys do it, but I think you need to do a lot of stress relieving with it. It introduces all kinds of irregularities to a barrel. I don't think you're going to end up with a match grade barrel out of it afterwards. I don't think.
Well, these are Wiseman barrels, so they're. I don't know if you're familiar with who Wiseman is or was. I don't know if the man's still alive, but he was a Marine Corps sniper, and he makes a lot of. He doesn't make a lot of commercial barrels. He makes a lot of test barrels for people like Hornady and Nosler and Federal, whatever, to go on those test guns that switch barrel out, But the man knows how to make a barrel, and I thought, well, this is neat. I got a 1 in 12 22 barrel, but I've got all the parts but the barrel for a great thumbhole stock Model 7 222 build, and that barrel's a little too fat, I
think I'd probably be looking to pedal it and buy what I wanted.
Yeah,
that's the way I'm thinking. I think it'd probably cost more to turn it down to even take a chance on it than that's a lot of work.
I'm sure it'll shoot, but I mean, why take the chance? There's somebody out there, there's an S for every seat. Somebody out there wants that barrel.
Yeah.
You can, especially if you don't have a lot into it.
You can machine it, but sometimes when we have something like that we got to keep a bore straight in it, we'll turn it a little bit, go get it stress relieved, turn it some more, get it stress relieved again. It takes time and money, and it's not worth it.
Right. I've got a 416 barrel that's 40 inches long. The guy was going to build a rifle to try to compete in the world record long range. And, I'm not going to explain the situation. There's a lot of family drama there, but I ended up with the barrel. But yeah, some 6mm and this and that, some neat stuff, but, I'll make somebody a deal on it, make a little money. Make a nice replacement barrel for a 22-250, 1 in 12. You can shoot a little heavier bullet, a little longer bullet.
So that's what I'm thinking. These PRC and these newer, like 6.5 Western, 6.8 Western. I'm thinking, what can it do that a 270 can't? And I think the thing is a tighter twist on the rifling. Like most of your 270s are 1 in 10. And CW told me, and some of the guys, I think
1 in 8.
They're like 1 in 7.5, 1 in 7, 1 in 8, somewhere around in there. And they're just
and a longer free bore to seat a VLD type bullet in it. You saw how long those VLDs were.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I did on my 6 mil. My 6 mil build. I put it in a long action, and then I seated one of the biggest bullets I planned on using into the neck, so it didn't protrude into the pace capacity. And I measured overall, and I come up with a number, and then I send it out with the action when I had the barrel fit to the action, and I had it throated for that length bullet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been awesome. It's a slow twist. It's a one in. It's like 1 in 7.8 or 7.7. It's like a 1 in 8 twist. And I've shot up to 115 grain, and it stabilizes it fine. And I just shot last time I was at the range. I loaded up some 85 grain coppers, which they're pretty long. They're at least 105 weight, cup and core bullet long.
Yeah.
But I have to go in nearly 3,500 feet per second, and no pressure sights.
Mm-mm.
So that's smoking.
That is smoking. That's 6 millimeter Remington.
Yeah.
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 Great
But
cartridge.
My overall length is 06 length. I'm in the 3.25 overall length. So.
Well, the people that are into quarter bores, I'm not, but they'll sit there and tell you the classic old 257 Roberts should have been chambered in a long action to really get the
And what's
performance.
the 6 It's a 57 case. It's a 757 case.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, I thought long and hard about improving it. I thought long and hard about the Creedmoor case. I thought, I said, no, I always wanted a 6 mil. I'm not modifying it for what it is. But I got this 06 length action. So, and I already knew I was going to slower twist it just so I could shoot more bullets. So I said, let's try this. And I looked around. I had a bunch of 108 grain, 107 grain burgers. And I seated a couple in there, and I liked the look of that. I figured that's a pretty long streamline bullet. And I seated it so it was in the neck, because it's got a real long neck. So it's got lots of support. And I sent a couple of those cases off to the gunsmiths. And boy, that thing shoots. It shoots. I was shooting factory Federal 80 grain ammo, and it would throw flyers. Out of every 5, I'd have 6 or so, I'd get a flyer. But that's not my gun, that's the ammo. But it was shooting them in a clover leaf. It was shooting them in a ragged hole, and then it would throw 1 inch away. But that's just the ammo. I put my hand loads in, and they all go in the same hole.
The 6 millimeter Remington has more neck than the 243. But you improve it now, that some of that neck you lose, but you gain a lot of performance there. Whereas in the 243, if you actually, you don't gain much.
We got 2 CWs.
Yeah, it happens.
Twins.
Twice
Let's-
the knowledge.
Let's get to the verse of the week, but before we do, I want to get to briefly talk about CH. James Pugh's talking about he's got an older CH press,
Yeah, that's the one I sent them, I think.
and Tim S said he never heard of CH. It's CH Tool and Die Company.
Yep.
And I have a couple of sets of their older.
Good.
Are they still in business? Do we know?
I believe so.
No,
They're not.
no,
I thought they were.
I thought they
Weren't
got
they in
absorbed by
Georgia?
Hornady. I thought
Weren't
they
they
got
in Georgia?
absorbed by Hornady. Didn't Hornady take them over? CH
Well,
Tool and Die.
not that I-
Hornady took a lot of people over. Stony Point, this, that, back and forth.
No, I mean early. I mean back in the 70s, I think they took over CNH.
It
Their
didn't surprise
presses,
me.
their powder measures. I don't know. They might still make dies. I don't know, but
They're in Ohio. It shows them in Knox County, Ohio.
Some of
They
my
still have-
older
Do they still have
Mount
presses?
Vernon. They got a phone number. They got an address. They're still there.
Maybe they just do custom dyes, CW.
I don't know, but they're still there. 711 North Sandusky Street, Mount Vernon, Ohio.
If y'all get a chance, CH makes good stuff.
Good stuff. I got a bunch of their dyes.
Some of their, I've got an old set of their dyes from, Mock gave me a set of CH 3030 dyes. It was just a 2-dye set. The crimp was in the seating dye. And then he lucked up on a 3030, and then I gave him those dyes back so that he'd have a set of dyes for 3030, and I gave him about 50 pieces, maybe 100 pieces of 3030 brass. So it's good to get Mock into the 3030. For the past 8 weeks on our verse of the week, we've been talking about the 7 I am statements of Jesus recorded in John's gospel. And all of these 7 I am statements are metaphoric statements. And we've covered all 7 of them. When I say metaphoric statements, it means that he's comparing himself to something familiar to his listeners. Well, for the next 2 weeks, we'll talk about the 2 I am statements of Jesus from John's gospel that are not metaphoric, but rather direct declaration of his own deity and his own part of the Holy Trinity. So tonight's verse of the week comes from John chapter 8. And John chapter 8 begins with the Jews delivering to Jesus the woman caught in adultery, and we've talked about that before. And this confrontation is followed closely by Jesus' second I am statement. I am the light of the world, and y'all probably remember that if you watched our verses of the week. And that leads to a verbal confrontation with the Jewish leaders, and both sides become more and more frustrated and angry until finally in verse 41, the Pharisees, we were not born of fornication. By now they're hot. And of course, y'all know Jesus was born of a virgin, and they didn't believe that. Anyway, so Jesus responds that his father is God and their father is the devil and a murderer. And quote, he is a liar and the father of it. But we want to start, I'm going to read tonight, starting in verse 48, and we'll read a few verses, and then we'll get into the verse of the week. So verse 48 says, then the Jews answered and said to him, do we not say rightly that you are a Samaritan and have a demon? Jesus answered, I do not have a demon, but I honor my Father, and you dishonor me. And I do not seek my own glory. There is one who seeks and judges. Most assuredly, I say to you, if anyone keeps my word, he shall never see death. Then the Jews said to him, we know that you have a demon. Abraham is dead, and the prophets, and you say, if anyone keeps my word, he shall never taste death. Are you greater than our father Abraham, who is dead, and the prophets are dead? Who do you make yourself out to be? Jesus answered, if I honor myself, my honor is nothing. It is my Father who honors me, of whom you say he is your God. Yet you have not known him, but I know him. And if I say I do not know him, I shall be a liar like you. But I do know him and keep his word. And then we'll start with verse 56 and dig in a little deeper. Jesus says, your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day, and he saw it and was glad. Verse 57, and the Jews said to him, you are not yet 50 years old, and you have seen Abraham? And this is our verse of the week, verse 58. Then Jesus said to them, most assuredly I say to you, before Abraham was, I am. Then they took up stones to throw at him, but Jesus hid himself and went out of the temple, going through the midst of them, and so passed by. So in verse 56 up here, Jesus is relaying a touch. Earlier in verse 39 and 40, he had told them that Abraham couldn't be their father. If he was, they would seek to do his will, but they wanted to kill Jesus. Verse 41 that I mentioned earlier, Jesus tells them they do the will of their father, insinuating that their father is the devil. And they respond about that fornication thing we talked about. And they said, we have one Father, God. And I say, really? Okay, Jesus is like, let's imagine your father really was Abraham. He rejoiced to see my day and saw it, and was glad. And John MacArthur reminds us in his note on that particular verse that in Hebrews 11:13 records that God reveals to Abraham the fulfillment of the Abrahamic covenant. So Abraham knew back then what was going to happen. Then in verse 57, the Jews still don't comprehend what Jesus is saying. Jesus actually witnessed these things pre-incarnate in heaven before he came to earth to complete his work for our salvation. And then you see verse 57 there on the screen. Then the Jews said to him, you are not yet 50 years old, and you have seen Abraham? So your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day. This is back at verse 56. He saw it and was glad. Jesus made another remarkable claim, answering their question in John 8:53. Jesus claimed that not only was he greater than Abraham, but Abraham himself also acknowledged this. Look at these. We'll look at that in a minute. Guzik quotes Bruce there, and he says, but when did he exult to see the day of Christ? Perhaps when he said to Isaac on their way to the place of the sacrifice, God will provide himself with a lamb for the burnt offering, all the way back in Genesis 22:8, and that's Bruce. That's when God commanded Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac. Verse 57, Guzik there says, you're not yet 50 years old and you've seen Abraham? The remarkable statement that Abraham saw and acknowledged the greatness of Jesus was more than they could understand. They asked, how could you know Abraham rejoiced in you? Were you there? And why 50? Guzik quotes Barclay there. That was the age which the Levites retired from their service. And the Jews were saying to Jesus, you are a young man, still in the prime of life, yet even old enough, not even old enough to retire from service. How can you possibly have seen Abraham? Let's look at verse 58. And I want you to notice the contrast here. Remember, the Jews themselves said that Abraham was dead. Then Jesus said to them, most assuredly I say to you, before Abraham was, I am. Abraham was. Jesus is. He still is. Before Abraham was, I am. This dramatic phrase, this is Guzik. This dramatic phrase, Jesus told them that he was the eternal God, existing not only during the time of Abraham, but before, unto eternity past. Jesus claimed to be the great I am, the voice of the covenant God of Israel, revealed at the burning bush in Exodus 3, verses 13 and 14. I am. This is the third time, Guzik continues, it's the third time in this chapter Jesus uses the phrase I am. He used it in verse 24 and in verse 28 and here in verse 58. And in using the phrase I am, Jesus used a clear divine title belonging to Yahweh alone and was interpreted as such by Jesus's listeners. I am was recognized by the Jews as a title of deity, and that's 10. Guzik quotes God there. Before Abraham came into existence, I am, eternally existent. No stronger affirmation of pre-existence occurs, according to him. Bruce there says if Jesus' claim was not well founded, then his words were openly blasphemous. He was using language that only God could use. And then they took up stones to throw at him in verse 59. They were mad, y'all. Jesus is telling them that he's God, that he's existed since before time started, and they are really, really, really mad. They took up stones to throw at him. This demonstrates, listen to this, this demonstrates that the religious leaders understood perfectly what Jesus meant. He claimed to be the eternal God, and they regarded that as blasphemy. They felt he was worthy of death and intended to carry it out at that very moment. Guzik quotes Morris there. Their passions were aroused. They were incensed. They took the law into their own hands. And the fact that Jesus hid himself and went out of the temple going through the midst of them, they wanted to kill Jesus, but they could not because his hour had not yet come, from John chapter 30. And that's what I got for the verse of the week. And I appreciate y'all putting up with me and tolerating me. And I hope that this does somebody some good. I just feel like that's what the Lord wants us to do. And so we have a verse of the week every week. Questions or comments?
I think he covered everything really well right there. Reading those footnotes and all that stuff, man, it explained it really good, buddy. Thank you. And I love the phrase, the great I am.
I do too, man. I do too. It goes back to Moses and Exodus chapter 3. He says, they're going to ask me who sent me. Who am I supposed to tell them sent me? He said, God said from the burning bush, I am as I am. Tell them I am sent you. From that point on, one of God's covenant names with Israel has been I am. So when Jesus says before Abraham was, I am, he's declaring his divinity in front of everybody. And I missed a bunch of y'all's comments. Good night, Ron.
Yeah. Evidently, thing to do back then was throw rocks at people. We must have a lot of rocks around there.
Yeah, they did, didn't they?
They didn't have guns.
I grew up in Stone County, Missouri. We got a lot of rocks, and so I'm used to that. But yeah, I figure they must have had a lot of rocks.
Well, you got to think about where they were at too.
Yeah,
a lot of rocks.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty powerful, though, Jamie. I am. Before Abraham, was I am. That's powerful.
And at the end of my notes, I wrote down if I had to pick one verse as my favorite verse, it's John 8:58. I mean, that whole chapter is nearly a fist fight, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
The whole
Yeah.
chapter.
Jesus is dipping his finger in the jalapeno juice and jamming it in the Jew's eyes. You know, that's what he's doing. I mean, he's taking them on now.
Yeah, and that brings to like kind of what's going on there. I feel like if he's going to kind of interpret the like today's talk or whatever, it'd be something like, you know, Jesus would be like, facts don't have feelings. There's nothing you can do about it. I am.
I try to reach people with everybody talks about Jesus and they're talking about God, and you know, he had to not even touch the earth and just sort of float around and talk to people. Jesus had to be a pretty cool dude, you know. I mean, really cool dude. Otherwise, people wouldn't have followed him, you know.
Well, Jesus is one of those, like no matter when, let's say you live back in the old times, whenever you ran into him, he was like your favorite uncle. And he always had the attitude, it is what it is. Let the rough side drag. Now, either you can do the pulling or you can be drugged.
Mm-hmm. He was your favorite uncle that gave the best advice too.
Right. That's the point I was trying to make. It is what it is.
Yeah, he's the coolest dude ever, man.
Well, I think I've said this before. A young man that was friends with me right out of high school wanted to be a minister, and he was a youth minister. And I'll never forget, I went to one of his Sunday school lessons, and he invited me, and he was telling those kids, he said, now Jesus and the 12, and I was like, Jesus and the 12, that's a pretty cool way to describe Jesus and his disciples, you know. Jesus and the 12, like they were a gang or something, but you know, it was pretty. He made it pretty poignant.
It's the J12 committee.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It is pretty cool. I guess we should start going through the room, clear the deck for Chad and Hillbilly. And so let's let Hillbilly go first so he can go over and help Chad.
Well, appreciate it. First of all, I want to say howdy to Walter out there in the side chat.
Yeah.
Buddy. And guys, always appreciate being on here. Always such a great panel and side chat. Just a great bunch of people. What a great way to start off the weekend. Yeah, we just have Guns Bearing Therapy coming up tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern. If you ain't done nothing, come by and see us. We try to have a good time there every Saturday night. So, anyway, appreciate y'all and love yous.
Well, thanks for being here, buddy. And we appreciate you. And if you need bug out before we get done, that's fine.
All right. Let's have a great evening, great weekend.
I'll try not to be so shy next week, Hillbilly.
So we need to say hey and bye to Mark Thomas. He just got in time to bow out, I reckon.
Well,
See you earlier, buddy.
made it just in time for the verse of the week. It was a little bit of a busy evening, but well worth it. My son had to or wanted to go help out with a belt test at his Taekwondo school. Some of these kids now that are testing have been students of his for the last almost year now. So it's kind of rewarding for him to watch them making their advancements.
Very
that's
cool.
what kept us. But it's been a good week. I was glad I got to get in here a little bit. Sorry I missed y'all last weekend. We had another gathering that we actually ended up doing a little bit of Bible study at that one too, so that was okay. I still got my weekly dose. So sorry I missed y'all this week. I'll try to make it in next week a little bit better. But sure glad to see everybody. Hope everybody has a great weekend.
Good to see you, Mark.
Thanks.
Yeah. You have a good one,
Always
Mark.
good to see you. Thanks for showing up, man. And,
See you, Mark.
talked about the Whitney Kennedy rifle
I'll
tonight.
have to go back and rewatch.
Cool. Kyle, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. I'm just sitting here watching it rain, getting ready to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and rinse and repeat, so they say. Had a good time hanging out and hanging on, and glad Walter popped in to say hey. Walter, I gave you a shout out around the 9 o'clock hour. I guess it'd be, I don't know, noon your time. I just want to say thank you, brother. I appreciate it. And thanks to everybody in the side chat for hanging out with us, because I know I was gone for a little bit, but this really does make my Friday nights. It's good to hang out with everybody. I appreciate every single one of you. And with that, I'm going to send it over to Super Dave.
Little thoughts on the whole thing with Jesus. When Jesus was asked, that guy, how do I have what you have? I mean, how do I get what you have? The guy was a rich man, and Jesus turned around, looked at him, and said, "Give away all your wealth, give away everything that you have, turn on your heel and follow me, and you will have what I have." And the man looked at him and he said, I'm going to have to ask my father for advice on this. And he turned and walked away. And I wonder if that guy could have been the 13th apostle. You know what I mean? And he turned that down over worldly wealth and riches. And also he looked to his father for advice. He wasn't looking for wisdom in a spiritual sense. And, I think that's what we have to do sometimes. We have to look for things in wisdom and spiritual sense in order to get the gifts that God has us, has for us. And it's a process, an individual one. And, with a big, kinder, gentler world with, universalism, and there's only one God, and he's called all these different names, I bring, that brings that I am it comes to life. If you don't believe in him, then you're following a false God. And I know that might make some people upset, but that's what that means. So it's something to ponder about. Anyway, I got some projects going on. I got a chainsaw I have to work on. There's a few other things. I gotta mow my lawn. Being retired, you kind of, you don't have a timetable anymore. So, you kind of just do the things when you got the opportunity or you feel like doing it, or sometimes you have to do things you don't feel like doing, but that goes along with everything in life. But other than that, that's about all I got going. What do you got going on, Six?
Oh, not a whole lot, really. We got a work day at the range tomorrow. We got to repair a stage. We'll try to get to the range Sunday morning, do some shooting. Got some more reloading I need to get done. And that's really about it for me. Be another work week next week. Other than my coworker is going to be on vacation. He's on a cruise, so I got to attend to everything next week. So that's about it for me. How about you, Rebel?
I'm going to be loading up some 87 grain VMAXs in 6BR. My buddy's been turning groundhogs inside out with a 6.547 Lapua, and I shoot them with a 22-250 most times because you don't have to use a rangefinder. If it's 400 or less, you just hold on hair and kill it. But he wants me to shoot more of a thumper, and I said, well, I got a thumper, I could do that. So I'm going to load up some 87 grains, and then he'll get the graphic gut pile that he wants. He's a sick man, a very sick man. I keep telling him there's no degree of dead. If the groundhog's not turned inside out and it's dead, it's dead. But he wants to kill him twice.
Well, dang.
Boy, it sure blows them apart. Wow.
Well, he made a shot yesterday. He killed he changed jobs. He's still a truck driver, but he's got more time on his hands. And he killed a groundhog at a measly 278 yesterday, and then got bored because no other groundhogs are coming out. And so he shot a crow at 5:15, not 5:15 p.m., 5:15 yards. And I said, you did not. He said, yes, I did. And he told me the corner of the field. So I got the truck after supper, drove over there. Sure enough, there's nothing but black feathers and some red meat. 515 yards at a Coke bottle size target. That was a good shot. Off a bog pod, no less.
Yeah, that's shooting.
Old John could shoot. Old Ohio farm boy. You don't want to make him mad. He just knock you out before you even got a chance to protest about it. But he's a good feller.
Well, thanks for being here, Rob.
One of the things we used to do in service rifle, at the very end when we finished our 600 yard, everybody'd be standing up and that sort of thing. Everybody get cleaned up and pulled everything back off the line. But we would call it the sudden death for dinner, because we usually had a barbecue afterwards, and you usually chipped in bucks or whatever. But if you got the closest to the center, then you didn't have to pay for dinner. And so we had sudden death at 600 yards offhand, unsupported, like you would,
That's tough. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I won it once. And that's a good feeling. When you got a bull hole at 600 yards and you offhanded that baby in there, man, that's something. That is like, wow. Yeah,
Cool.
that's a challenge.
Very cool.
They're crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. Those guys.
CW, what you got?
All that stupid stuff.
What you got coming up, CW?
I got one different video coming up next week, and then I got a couple more regular videos. Gonna be yesterday I bedded glass bedded two rifles. I bedded the Grendel with the new stock that I think posted already. I think the video posted with that stock. It's a Boyd stock.
Is that a Howa, CW?
Yeah, Howa Mini.
Oh, they're fun to bed. Fun.
Howa Mini.
Yeah.
Come out really, really good, really nice. No do-overs, one and done. It's beautiful. Trimmed it up this morning, re-put the action in, it bolted up beautiful. So it's good and hard now, but it'll have 3-4 days and I'll get it to the range. Gonna revisit the 8mm again. I picked up another scope for it. I wanted to put a 30mm on it. I had a 1-incher on it. And I got a whole bunch of powder 2 weeks ago from a friend of mine's estate who passed away last year. And in there was 4064 powder, which I wasn't able to find or get any for quite a while. And that's my favorite 8mm Mauser powder. So I'm going to revisit that. I should be able to do some good things because it always shot well with that before.
Mm-hmm.
So along those same constraints, I got looking at what I had just done when I restocked that last year. And I had quite a bit of, I did it on purpose, but it didn't work out well. A lot of fore-end pressure for the barrel. It's got a fairly light barrel on it. I wanted to give it a lot of support, and I think I did too much. I did get one or two groups that were pretty good, and nothing was awful, but it wasn't as good as it had been previously.
That's tricky stuff.
So I backed it off, and I have light pressure now, but I can open it up and float it if I need to. So I rebedded that rather than cut the stock because it was getting thin. I rebedded it, shimmed it, picked up a couple thousandths in the bedding, and that'll get shot. Now today, if you watch my video from 6 o'clock, I also found 2 boxes of 8mm bullets. One is a 170 grain Core-Lock round nose, and one is 170 grain silver tip, Winchester silver tips. So not enough to build up a load, but enough to have and hunt with, because it's a really good bullet. I always like silver tips, especially with short range big calibers. I like silver tips a lot. 35 rem.
They're
I
nasty.
really like that bullet.
Yeah.
So I'll work up a load around the 170 Spear or the 170 Core-Lock, which is good bullets all by themselves. But and then I'll throw some silver tips in the same load and see how they shoot. So those are a couple things that'll be coming up. And of course, Fireform and the TCU 6 TCUs. I got a bunch of those loaded. The dies did come in finally, so I was able to load some of those with the Fireform brass. Just a few, but a whole lot of Fireform and brass. I've got about 200. I don't need to Fireform them all, but I'm going to do about 100 and go from there. So I'll have those coming up. But I'm out into the middle of June right now with videos. So everything I do now, you're not going to see until the end of June. So there's that. Thanks everybody for coming. Thanks everybody on the panel. Really good to see you guys and talk to everybody. And side chat was pretty good. We had some good questions. We had some new faces. Really good to see that. Jamie, what's your closing statements?
I want to say thank you guys on the panel. Thank you guys in the side chat. We hope the Lord blesses you all real good. And if he's willing, we'll see you next Friday night at 8 o'clock.